Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video we are going to be going through why I believe ROI calculations are dead and why I've created a new spreadsheet which I'm going to give away for free, of course, to you guys today on combined ROI and what exactly that means and why I think that that's actually the holy grail when it comes to property investing and analysing deals, because there's so much more than just what happens in year one to any property investment. Now, I've held some of my investments for 10, 15 years. I know that just year one isn't the full story. And it's really important when you're looking at deals that you look at it holistically over a longer period, especially if you're investing for the long term. Why wouldn't you? So there is a real good reason why I believe the ROI calculation as it is dead. So let's first of all define what return on investment is. It's essentially net profit, i.e. the amount of money that you make on that investment that year, divided by the capital invested times 100. So let's do a good example. You made £20,000 in rental profit after all the costs. You bought the house with £100,000 worth of cash and a mortgage, and then at the end of the year we can divide 20,000 by 100,000, times that by 100, and that would be a 20% ROI. Make sense? Absolutely. Now, why doesn't that make sense in every instance? Because it makes perfect sense on that straightforward calculation. Well, it's because every single deal is completely different. And let me look at two properties side by side, and you can tell me which one you think is best, and then you can tell me which one is going to come out better on an ROI calculator. Now, property one, we bought it for 160,000 and we spent £10,000 uplifting the value. We just did a light refresh. Not enough for it to be a real BRRR project, if you like, but enough for us to add value. And at the end of that, we got the end value of about 180,000. Now, we can't really refinance that out. We can't put it on a bridging loan. It wouldn't make any sense. There's not enough fat in the deal to do any of that. But we are going to realise that profit later on. We are going to take that money when we refinance that in a couple of years. Now, property two, just down the road, we bought it for 160,000. We decided to do no work on it, and its value is still 160,000. Well, property two is always going to have a better ROI when we look at it, even though we've left £10,000 worth of profit. And if you looked at that 10,000 spent versus the profit made, that's 100% return on investment, right? You've doubled your money. That would make much more sense. So ROI calculations for me don't really work in that scenario. Now, another scenario that I can think of is, let's talk about an area of a town, and any town or city where you live, you can apply this to. Now, you know that there are areas, if it's a 1, it's absolutely terrible. If it's a 10, it's really luxurious. You know, in every town and every single city, there are different areas. Let's see a property in an area of 3, so you're not going to get shot, you're not going to stab it, it's really quite rough, is 160,000, and a property in area 5, a much nicer area, is 180,000. When you look at the rents, they're normally fairly similar. So you're always, if you're going to do ROI calculations, you're always going to buy in the worst areas because that's where it's going to make the most sense. But when you look at the full picture and you start thinking about capital growth and capital appreciation, well, maybe in the worse areas, the capital growth has only been 4%, whereas in the good areas, capital growth has been more like 6%. So I can think of in my local town in Didcot, there are some areas that really haven't moved on that well in terms of capital appreciation. And there are other areas, really nice family leafy areas, that have charged ahead, probably superseding that 6%, whereas the other areas, probably more like 2 or 3%. So when you brought all of that in together, let's consider that on a £200,000 house, you'd be making £12,000 of capital appreciation each year. Well, that's quite a sizable amount of money. We shouldn't be forgetting about that when it comes to doing our calculations. Now, what I said in this is I'm going to give you a spreadsheet. I've developed this spreadsheet so that we can do some calculations internally of what we believe are going to be the best investments. And what it essentially allows us to do is take a more holistic view of everything and go, okay, well, what does this look like over a 2-year period, a 3, a 5, a 10-year period? And we can start to work out a combined ROI of both capital appreciation, any refinance element that even if we're not going to realise it today, that needs to be taken into consideration, because on an ROI basis, it isn't, but that money is still sat there, so it does need to be taken into consideration. And we've developed that spreadsheet with all of that in mind. So I'll tell you what, Nick, let's go over to the laptop, let's put that up on the screen, and I can talk people through the spreadsheet and they can start to understand how to use it. And then I'll tell people where the link is and they can all download it and use it for themselves. But hopefully this will be really useful. But that's my basic understanding of why I don't think return on investment is actually the best calculation when it comes to property investing. I think you need a combined ROI over a period of time. The other thing you might want to think about is if you're doing a BRRR our project, it could take you 2 years maybe to do this huge development, during which time capital appreciation on other properties or rent on other properties might have stacked up. So again, all of this needs to be brought in when you're comparing deals that aren't necessarily like for like. ROI works brilliantly if every deal was exactly the same. It would work perfectly. However, because there's so many variables, because there's this BRR element, there's this capital appreciation element, there's different areas in every town, there's different rental demands, there's refurbs, there's all these other things that come into this. We need to take all of those things into consideration when we're looking at a combined ROI. So Nick, let's go over to the laptop. I'm going to do one of those clicky things, yeah? So guys, you meet me over at the laptop and we're going to start going through this spreadsheet. I'll explain everything to you. Nick, how do I do the screen recording thing? Oh, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
You're going to do it. Look. Let's go. As you can see on the screen, we're going to go through an example deal and I'll give you exactly how it works, and then I'll tell you how to download this spreadsheet and you can start using it for yourself. I'm not going to go through too many deals because I think that's a bit irrelevant. I want you to start using it in practice and tell me what you think of this sheet and how it might work for you. So first of all, we fill in the orange numbers first of all, which is the purchase price and the estimated value. Now, the important part of this is that we can see if we've secured a discount, and it's all going to make sense in a minute when we come to the combined ROI, but we need to know if we've secured a discount on the property. Because again, two properties that we bought for 160, both with the same rent, would be the same ROI. However, if one was in an area where it was worth 180, well actually we made 20 grand on the day we bought it. So we need to know about that £20,000. The next thing we need to do with this sheet is fill in the interest rate. So at the moment it's set at 2%, I guess that would be a personal mortgage. So if we did it at I don't know, a 3%, we would fill it in here. Number of units, this works for multiple units as well, obviously, but in this instance, we'll keep that as 1. And then it kind of works out a lot of this for us. So it works out the deposit based on 25%. It works out the stamp duty based on the purchase price. It works solicitors and conveyancing fees. That is something that you can edit. Renovation costs, obviously that's down to you. Gas and safety certificates, that's about right. And then obviously you've got building surveys or any other miscellaneous costs that you might want to add. Now, all of that together will give you your total outlay, and with that we'll be able to work out how much the mortgage interest is. So if we change the interest rate up here, you'll be able to see the mortgage interest changes, obviously. So after we've done all that, we need to put in our rent, which we put in here. So on this property in particular, this is my Newbury flat. Let's assume that that's 925. It's actually rented out for more than that, isn't it, Nick? Is it 950?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let's use that as a good example. I reckon the flat is worth about 180,000. We're buying it for 160. The rent is 950. We've got all of the real figures in there. Now the rental ROI, i.e. year 1 rental ROI, is here in F21, 9.46%. But that's not the full picture. We have not taken into consideration this £20,000 that we've saved on the market value. So once we take that into consideration, we have a combined ROI of 44.75. Now, there's some things over here about future growth, so we can put in what we believe will happen in the future. So let's say, for example, you thought that house prices in your area would rise by 4%. Well, we can plug that in and we can see what this looks like over a period of time. Equally, if you thought rent was going to rise by 2%, we could plug that in and see what that happens over time. Now, what I've done is I've just used the long-term averages in our area, which is 6% capital appreciation, 3% rental increase. That's roughly what it's been. And again, I'll do another video on why capital's increased quicker, but to cut a long story short, it's because interest rates are so low. So because interest rates are so low, landlords are paying less on their mortgages, they can be more competitive, and rents haven't had to rise as quickly as house prices have. That is it in a nutshell. Now, what we can see on here with this property, we're looking at combined ROI of 3 years to get all of our money back out. That's assuming capital appreciation at 6% and rental growth at 3%, and all other things being equal. Now, we might want to put a bit more into maintenance. I've only got £75 a month in, but that's fairly reasonable to maintain a flat. Remember, you're only doing the internals. We've got insurance at 112. Now, that includes the service charge in this instance. So pretty much all of our costs, I'm looking at this, are taken care of. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I think this is a fairly reasonable case scenario. So guys, what I want you to do is, if you are interested in this sheet, if you think this sheet might be able to help you on your journey, have a look in the description. There'll be a link in there. It'll be download resources or something like that. Click that link, fill out your email address, it will send this sheet directly to you. Now there's a BRRR element to this. Let's say for example you wanted to do a lot of renovations and you had a different end value. There's a bricks and mortar BRR element. We also have a commercial remortgage BRR element. I don't want to go into too much detail. I think what I want to do in this video is just give an overview of this sheet and how it's used or how we use it. Obviously, feel free to use it how you want. The basics for us is very much that we love the idea that we get able to have a look into the future and go, although all of this might not happen today, because I'm not going to refinance this property on day one. There's no way. I won't be able to buy it for 160, do no work, and then be able to say it's worth 180. I just won't be able to. But I know there's been a discount secured. I know that we have managed to secure this at a good price, and we believe that there's 20 grand in there for us. Now, a lot of property investing is based on assumptions, and you have to make some. You have to assume what your end value will be based around good guesses and good information, based around comparables. And if you have a look in Newbury, the 2-bedroom flats in modern blocks, I'm saying that this one's worth 180. What do you think? We'll get all of our money out once rent's taken into consideration, once the year 2 remortgage is taken into consideration, in about 3 years. And this is how I base a lot of my decision makings on this spreadsheet, because I think it just takes into consideration all the different variables. But guys, as I said, click in the description, you can download it for yourself, you can use it, you can have a play around with it, you can adapt it, you can improve it. If anybody wants to improve it and send it back to me, feel free, we'll share it with everybody. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helps you see why I believe combined ROI beats just ROI, because you have to take into consideration all the other variables that there are when it comes to property investing. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.